Hey there everyone, I am ShuffleCat and welcome to Shuffle Showcase. Here we are with a little bit more Stormcaller gameplay. We're going up against a team with an Igniter and a Ranid. Real quick, I would like to announce that I do have a Twitter account. If you decide to follow that account, I appreciate it very much, and you can use it to keep up with all the up-to-date stuff that is going on, for instance like tournament replays and stuff like that. Anyway, so starting off with this, kind of like pressuring this Alchemist quite a bit. Right there you saw that I used the Meteor Shard directly after Hailstorm. I find that to be really, really useful with Stormcaller. And in fact, I've also found that if you use the Meteor Shard before the Hailstorm has actually popped, what you can do is you can position the Meteor Shard to be in exactly the right location so that it pushes people back into the Hailstorm. And all you really have to do is just, when you put down your Hailstorm, just kind of look at it and see what is the shortest line between the person who's in it and the exterior. Like for instance, for this Igniter, it would have been directly backwards. So for him, you would have put the meteor directly behind him, and if he would have tried to walk out, then the meteor would actually push him back into the Hellstorm. In fact, that when it happens that way, there are certain timings that you can use the meteor that it will push people back into the Hailstorm at the exact right moment for it to stun them as they're going through it. So you can sometimes push people out, but usually it will still stun them either way. Now right here, I'm waiting for this Alchemist to use his barrier, so I'm just going to pressure this Ranid a little bit, try to make the Alchemist use his barrier. There it is. So now I'm saving my space, I'm saving my Q. So here's the space. I decided not to use my Q for some reason, but if I would have, then I would have actually killed him. Also, you see there, I took a huge amount of damage while I was using my ultimate. I actually had my ARP. What I've been working on lately is I should be apply R to yourself, space onto the target, put Q on them, and then use your ultimate. It's a whole lot of abilities to remember to use at the same time, but if you do, it's very huge. You can actually end up doing like about 1100 damage to a person without power. Now mind you, if you decide to stack power and get a 10% increase in your power, then you can actually get an additional 110 damage over that, which, you know, that might not be so much. 110 damage is a little bit less than a single M1 from a Stormcaller, but you will end up dealing about 1210 or so, rounding around, damage, and that can be enough to kill someone, especially since looking at my health, I start off with 1747. So if you can hit somebody the full duration of that entire combo, if you can catch them off guard, then you can actually kill somebody almost completely from full health. Now right there, I should have spaced a little bit sooner, so that was just a reaction time thing. But you do see how the gist of that was correctly done. Also, with Stormcaller, his M1 damage is so high, and if we look at my damage at the end of this game, my Stormbolt damage is not really so good. And the reason why, probably the reason why for this one particular round, was that I was not spamming my EX2. For Stormcaller, that is his EX space, and it's the chain flash that allows you to jump between targets. I found that the best way of doing it, and I might actually do it in this next round here, the best way of using your chain flash is actually to target the enemy who is farthest away from your opponent, I mean from your teammates. Naturally, because if somebody is the farthest from your teammates, then there's somebody who's second farthest, and then you'll jump to him next, and then the person that you jump to last will be whoever is closest to your teammates. So naturally, if you're already close to your teammates, and then you jump to the person using your EX2 to the person who's farthest from your teammates, then you'll naturally move away from your teammates and then back again. However, there's a huge risk that you will end up missing. which can be terrible. Now, right there, you saw that that igniter was almost dead, and I had to kind of wonder what actually caused him not to die. I'm pretty sure his cast time for his M1 is 0.4 seconds, and the cast time on mine is 0.4 seconds. So it might have been just a swiftness thing. I'm not using a lot of swiftness for Stormcaller, so as soon as he came out of Living Flame, he might have had a better chance of hitting me, or maybe because of the knockback actually reset my M1. That could have been something like it. I'm not necessarily making excuses, I'm just trying to figure out, from watching a replay, just trying to figure out what happened there. Now, something that people might not know is right there, I saw a igniter using his Firestorm. That's what his M2 is called. And some people may not know, but my M2 can actually cancel his M2. It can cancel it before he finishes casting it, or it can cancel it as it's channeling. And that's because my M2 is a silence. And that allows me to stop his current ability in its tracks before it's done casting or before anything. Now right here, I want to use the M2 to escape. I mean, not the M2, the EX2 to escape. I use silence there in order to make sure he doesn't hit me before I get to the energy. And I space away in order to make sure that he can't hurt me anymore. And also, that's the thing about his R, is Stormcaller's R, you really have to use it way in advance. If you see somebody jumping towards you, you need to hit Shift R, because most people, as soon as they space on you, they will have something to interrupt your next ability, and you won't be able to cast it later. And his R, the second time you hit it, you can actually use it while you're in-capped. So you can actually Shift R before somebody spaces on you, and even if they in-cap you, you can then tap R again and knock them back. So that will allow you to use your E and remove them from combat or something like that. So that's us done for the first replay. I have a little bit more Stormcaller gameplay here in a minute. Welcome back. This is game number 2. I'm playing Stormcaller in a non-healer comp versus a Stormcaller in another non-healer comp. What's also interesting is that even though neither one of us have healers, we both have tanks. And I guess it's kind of interesting to look at the relationship of a ranged who doesn't have any healing whatsoever with a tank. So I'm not entirely sure. I haven't previewed this replay at all, so I don't have a point or a moral of the story for any of the replays that I look at. So I only chose it because it was interesting for that reason. Anyway, also on Bako's grave versus their composition, it's kind of cool to stay on these bridges here because they have a lot of movement abilities that cannot follow you between the bridges, which is pretty interesting. Especially, what's it called? Guardian here. Yes. And also, there you saw that I used my R ability in order to push the Guardian back onto the bridge. That was actually on purpose. I got in the way of the Guardian in order to push her back on the bridge, because if she's on the bridge, she can't escape. The only way that she could have gone is back towards the energy rune. And to be honest, against a ranged, you don't want to go towards the center. Especially since my space is so short. And that's another thing that people have to think about with Stormcaller is, yes, he can use his space very often, but it's also so short that if somebody spaces away from you, he actually may not be able to catch up, unless if you're at the tip of his range. So if you space away from a Stormcaller and you have a really long space, or some kind of way of increasing the range that you get from somebody, then that can be super effective, because even if a Stormcaller spaces towards you, he can only get, I'm pretty sure it's 77. If the range on his space is 70. is in fact only 70. I guess I was thinking 77 because that would be half of 14, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But yeah, if he wants to catch up with you, he might have to use EX2, his EX space, in order to catch up with you. Now, right there, you saw that hailstorm did absolutely nothing. And one thing that I've also been working on in order to kind of remedy the problem of hailstorms that do nothing is I've been starting off using my M2 silence, knowing full well that's probably not going to hit, but trying my best to make it hit. But the really good thing about his M2 is that you can move while you're casting it, and that allows you to get closer to your opponent than you normally would if you were using any other ability. Plus also, his silence can kind of be wasted, not necessarily wasted, but also just kind of thrown away. Anyway, my point being that you use your M2 to get closer to somebody, and then you cast your hailstorm behind people. I see a lot of Stormcallers, what they do is they move towards the enemy and they place down a hailstorm and then they use their M2. But naturally, if somebody sees a hailstorm in their general vicinity, what they're going to do is they're going to back up. And that means that they're going to come out of range of your M2, and your M2 is going to do nothing. Your hailstorm is going to do nothing because they've walked out of it. If you start with M2 and then use hailstorm, what happens is you get closer, so your hailstorm range gets farther up. Oh, I'm not watching the right person, sorry. Anyway, your hailstorm range gets farther up, and you can cast hailstorms behind people, which means that they have to move closer to you, and thus risk getting in range of your M1, which is right where you want people to be. Taking M1s all day long, and that space was kind of in the wrong direction. I probably should have gone towards the bridge a little bit. And you might also see that I kind of chose to go on this bridge here. And that's because I noticed that the first game, I kind of got myself in between everybody. I got myself triangled. And I pretty much figured that they might be going for me next for this round, because a lot of people, they see somebody is easy to kill and then they just focus them the next round. So I went on this bridge because I knew that I could space to the other one and they couldn't follow me as easily. So that's what I'm doing here, is I'm switching the bridge just in case. And there I canceled that because I knew he was going to trans. Anyway, just in case they were expecting me to go to that bridge. So I'm going back to my bridge. I'm going to try to funnel people into this pathway here so I can easily M1 them. But of course that's not working too well. They're going on the Harbinger, which is still good. Problem was that the Harbinger hit me with Blood Grip, so now I'm in this really, really bad position here. And that caused me to get just tunneled on. So that was a little bit, I'm not going to blame it on the Harbinger. I'm not saying that it was his fault or anything like that. It was just kind of a bad piece of luck that he would happen to miss his Blood Grip and that I would get in the way of it afterwards. So that was a little bit lame right there. So as this game is coming to an end, I guess I would like to remind everyone once again, I have a Twitter account that's in the description below. If you want to follow me on that, then you can kind of get all the news about what's going on with my channel and videos that I'm going to make. And this is that for the showcase for today. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.